The rain had been falling since dusk, a steady, relentless curtain that blurred the dirt, rode and soaked the wide-open plains, until the world felt smaller, lonelier. The wooden gate creaked as a young woman pushed it open with trembling hands. Her dress clung to her from the rain, thin and worn, the kind that told a story of many hard days and too little rest. In her arms, wrapped in an old blanket, was a small puppy, muddy paws, soft whimpers, eyes too innocent for the cruelty of the night. She stopped at the edge of the porch, staring at the warm light spilling from the windows of the large ranch house ahead. Everyone in the county knew this place. Everyone knew him. The rich cowboy, the man with more land than anyone else for miles, with a reputation for being tough, quiet, and impossible to read. People said he had no heart left to soften. They said grief had carved it out years ago. She hoped they were wrong because this was her last hope. Her knees hit the wooden boards as she knelt, the rain pounding harder as if the sky itself was urging her on. With shaking fingers, she placed the puppy gently into a wicker basket she had carried all this way. Inside the basket lay a folded note already damp at the edges. 3 words written in uneven handwriting. "Please take my puppy." Her breath caught as she looked down at the little creature. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I tried. I really tried." The puppy whimpered, nudging her fingers with its nose, trusting her completely. That trust shattered her heart. She pressed her forehead to the basket for just a second, allowing herself one silent sob before forcing herself to stand. If she stayed longer, she knew she wouldn't be able to leave at all. Behind the door, the rich cowboy paused mid-step. He had been pouring himself a cup of coffee when he heard the sound. Soft, almost lost in the rain, a whimper. Then another. His jaw tightened. He hadn't heard that sound in years, not since the night his ranch went silent in a way it never recovered from. Against his better judgment, he set the mug down and walked to the door. When he opened it, warm light spilled into the stormy night, revealing the sight before him. A young woman soaked to the bone, standing too straight for someone so exhausted, and at her feet, a basket with something moving inside. She turned to run. "Wait," his voice was low, rough, unused to urgency. She froze, her back still to him, shoulders shaking. Slowly, she turned around. Up close, he could see how young she was. Too young to carry the kind of fear etched into her eyes. He looked down at the basket, then back at her. "What's this?" he asked, though the answer was already clear. She swallowed hard. I can't keep him," she said quickly, words tumbling over each other. "I've got nowhere to go, no money, no place that'll allow dogs. He deserves better. He deserves this." She gestured weakly at the ranch behind him. "You're good, sir. People say you take care of things. Please." The word came out barely louder than the rain. "Just take him." The cowboy crouched slowly, as if sudden movement might break something fragile in the air. He looked into the basket. The puppy stared back at him with wide eyes and wagged its tail once, hopeful. Something twisted painfully in his chest. He reached out, then stopped himself, clenching his hand into a fist. He stood again, clearing his throat. "You walk all the way out here in this storm," he said, "just to leave him?" She nodded, tears streaming freely now. "Because if I leave him somewhere else, he'll die," she whispered. "And if I keep him, we both will." The rain thundered around them, the moment stretching. He should have taken the basket, closed the door, and gone back inside. That would have been the sensible thing, the detached thing, the thing everyone expected from a man like him. Instead, his eyes moved back to her, bare hands red from cold, shoes worn thin, face pale with hunger and exhaustion. He saw something else too. Not weakness, love, the kind that hurts because it's real. "You can't just leave him," he said quietly. Her face crumpled. "I know," she said, "but I have to." She turned again, forcing her feet to move. She made it 3 steps before his voice stopped her, softer now, almost unsure. "You don't." She turned back, confused. He stepped aside and opened the door wider. "You don't have to leave him," he said. Then, after a pause that felt like the heaviest thing he'd carried in years, he added, "You stay too." Her breath caught. "What?" He looked embarrassed, irritated with himself, but resolute. "I'm not taking a dog and leaving its owner out in the rain," he muttered. "Not tonight. Not ever." He nodded toward the warm interior. "You can dry off. Eat something. We'll figure the rest out tomorrow." She stared at him, disbelief flooding her features. "You don't even know me." "No," he agreed. But I know what it looks like when someone's got nothing left. The puppy barked softly, tail wagging harder now. She let out a shaky laugh that turned into a sob. Slowly, as if afraid the offer might disappear, she picked up the basket and stepped inside. The door closed behind them, shutting out the storm. Neither of them noticed it then, but something else had just ended too, the long, lonely silence of that house. And if this story already has you feeling something, if you want to know what happens next when two broken lives collide under one roof, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because this is only the beginning. Morning arrived quietly, as if the storm had taken all the noise with it when it finally moved on. Sunlight slipped through the ranch house windows, warm and golden, falling across wooden floors that had known decades of footsteps and years of solitude. The rich cowboy sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug that had long since gone cold. He hadn't slept. Every sound in the house had felt foreign, intrusive, yet strangely comforting. For the first time in years, he wasn't alone with his thoughts, and that terrified him more than the loneliness ever had. Down the hall, the young woman stirred. She woke slowly, confused for a moment by the soft bed beneath her and the dry clothes, folded neatly on the chair. Then memory rushed back in a wave. Rain, the porch, the basket, the door opening. Her heart pounded as she sat up. On the floor beside the bed, curled up like he belonged there, was the puppy. His tail thumped softly when he saw her awake. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time they weren't only from fear. They were from relief. She dressed quietly and stepped into the hallway, following the faint smell of coffee. When she reached the kitchen doorway, she hesitated. The cowboy looked up surprised, then stood awkwardly. "Morning," he said. "Morning," she replied, her voice small but steady. "Thank you for last night. I didn't think—" "You don't need to explain," he interrupted gently. He gestured toward the table. "Sit, you must be hungry." She was. She hadn't eaten properly in days, but pride almost stopped her. Almost. She sat, and when he placed a plate of food in front of her, she stared at it as if it might vanish. The puppy sniffed around her feet, then plopped down contentedly. For a while they ate in silence. It wasn't awkward. It was careful. Two people learning the shape of a moment they hadn't planned for. "My name's Eli," he said finally. She looked up. "I'm Clara." He nodded, committing it to memory. "You want to tell me what brought you here, Clara?" She hesitated, then took a deep breath. "I had a job in town," she began. "Cleaning. It barely paid enough, but it was something. When the landlord found out about the dog, he gave me a week. I tried shelters, tried friends. Nobody could take him. When the job ended, so did the room." She swallowed. "I chose him, even when it meant sleeping outside. But last night I knew I couldn't keep going. I thought if I left him somewhere safe, at least one of us would survive." Eli listened without interruption, every word pressed against old scars he thought had healed. Years ago he had made a different choice, a choice that cost him everything. He stood abruptly and walked to the window, staring out at the land that had once felt like a blessing and later like a punishment. "I lost my family in a fire," he said quietly. "Couldn't save them. Couldn't even try." He exhaled slowly. "After that, I stopped letting anything close enough to lose." Clara didn't speak. She didn't need to. The silence held understanding instead of distance. "I don't know how long you can stay," Eli continued. "But I do know this. No one under my roof gets thrown out without a chance." Her eyes filled again. "I don't need much," she said quickly. "I can work. I can clean, cook, help with the ranch." He turned, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Funny thing," he said. "I've got more work than I can handle." Over the following weeks, the ranch changed. Not dramatically, not all at once, but subtly. Laughter, soft at first, found its way into rooms that had only known echoes. The puppy grew stronger, bolder, following Eli everywhere as if he'd always belonged. Clara worked harder than anyone he'd ever known, her gratitude showing in every quiet action. And Eli found himself looking forward to mornings again. But life doesn't let happiness go untested. One afternoon, a man from town arrived with papers in hand. Old debts, old disputes, things Eli had ignored because he didn't care what happened to him anymore. Only now it wasn't just his life on the line. Clara overheard the conversation. That night she packed her bag silently. Eli found her at the door. "What are you doing?" "I can't be the reason you lose everything," she said, voice shaking. "I came with nothing. I won't take what you've built. He stepped closer. You didn't take anything, he said firmly. You gave this place life again. She shook her head. I'll find another way. He looked down at the puppy, then back at her. You already did, he said. You trusted me. The next morning, Eli rode into town and faced what he'd been running from for years. He fought not just for land or money, but for the home that had become something worth protecting again. And he won. When he returned, Clara was waiting on the porch, the puppy in her arms. The smile she gave him felt like sunrise after a long winter. Some doors open in storms, some hearts do too. And if this story moved you, if you believe in second chances, unexpected kindness, and the power of choosing compassion, subscribe to the channel. Because stories like this remind us that sometimes, when you ask someone to save what you love, they end up saving you too.